What we did to the Honda Jazz in the previous video was probably a bit childish. And because of that, we now have a Honda Jazz with a Lamborghini exhaust that can also spit massive flames. Now, if you've been keeping up to date on the videos on this car, then you'll know I've been modifying it using only my followers' suggestions and ideas. The way this works is that I'll post a TikTok video fitting a modification to the Jazz, and then the most liked comment on that TikTok video chooses the next modification that we fit to the car. At this point, you're probably all wondering, what was the most liked comment on the previous TikTok video? Well, it was this, a Honda Civic Type R engine swap with 42,000 likes. Now, doing a whole K20 Type R engine swap is going to be one of the most challenging modifications I have ever done to any car, let alone this Honda Jazz. So the question is, am I going to physically, mentally, and financially torture myself and do a K20 Type R engine swap just because a TikTok comment told me to do so? Well, let me quickly show you something. I have gone out and already bought the Type R engine that the comment asked me to put in the Jazz. This is the K20 and it is arguably one of the most iconic inline-4 engines ever made. It's got VTEC and 200 horsepower. So the answer is very much yes. As I'm sure a lot of you know, the K20 engine doesn't belong in this car. So because of that, I've got to wait quite a while, a couple of weeks or so, on delivery times for the parts I need to make that engine fit in this car. So unfortunately, we can't get on with the swap in this video. But what we can do in this video is fit some supporting mods to the Honda Jazz that's going to help when the K20 engine eventually goes in. And I'm also going to do a few modifications that you guys have suggested in the comments sections of my YouTube videos that I kind of agree the car needs. So this is the first thing I'll be fitting to the Jazz. It's basically a big Apple CarPlay screen, and I'm fitting it because this comment told me to do so, and I think it will help modernize the interior and also help us play our music. So let's get it fitted. So the first job was to remove the small trim piece that sits below the climate control dials. Then there were two bolts that were really far up into the console itself, which were actually really hard to see, so I used this mirror, which allowed me to undo the bolts, and then I could begin removing the whole radio unit itself. Now, getting the stereo unit free from the dashboard was only half the battle. There was a load of stuff I needed to unplug, and getting this unit free from all of the bits behind the climate control dials was actually the hardest part of this, but after a while I did manage to get it out. Well, this was very difficult to remove, but we have now finally got it out, so I think we can begin fitting the new screen. But before doing so, I had to transfer over a few things from the old radio unit, like this, and this. So these circular picture things which sit on the dials could just be taken off using a screwdriver, and then I could glue them onto the new unit. But as for these buttons, I could just simply unclip them from the old unit and then clip them into the new one. So I started by fitting the screen trim piece first, and I had to bolt the white climate control box thing to the back of the trim piece, and then I could get on with the next job. So after quickly mounting the screen with the screws, I realized that there's only one wire that I actually needed to plug into the screen, and that the rest of the wires were all optional extras for if you had a reverse camera, for example, so I only actually had to plug in one wire. So I could then do the finishing touch, which is of course mounting the whole unit into place, and then I was finished. So the screen is working now. What do we think of that? This is definitely modernizing the interior very nicely. This looks so cool. We have our Waze on the left and our music on the right, so I can now finally play my music in this car, and also having Waze on that big screen is very nice as well. But now that's fitted and working perfectly, I can now move on to the next mod, which is the brakes. A lot of you in the comment sections of my videos have told me that I need to upgrade the brakes. And I agree, especially with this K20 engine that's going to be going in the car soon. So I've gone for these M-Tech discs and Mintex pads to fit to the Jazz. I think these are kind of a nice balance between cost and effectiveness. These are obviously drilled and grooved, which is going to help dissipate the heat. And these are also quite good pads for road and a bit of track use as well. So as for fitting these new brakes to the Jazz, the first thing, of course, was to jack the car up on some axle stands. And once the car was fully off the ground, I could then start taking off the first wheel. So the first thing to do was to slide off the brake caliper, and to do that I just had to undo two 12mm bolts. I could then take out the old brake pads. I then had to get out the breaker bar to undo the two 17mm bolts that sit behind the carrier, which keep the carrier on, and after those were undone I could then remove the carrier itself. Then it was just a very easy task of taking off the brake disc, which ended up not being so easy. So there's only two things which can make a really simple job difficult. Firstly, a snapped bolt, and secondly, a rounded bolt or screw. And this is what we've got here. These are very rounded by me, but the previous person put them on so tightly, so I just couldn't get them off. So I'm just going to drill these out and hope for the best. So I'm back, it's the next day. We're gonna try and drill this screw out now. I've got my friend Tom here who's got some lovely drill bits for me to use, which hopefully will make this a lot easier, so let's do it. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it did it straight away. It just snapped.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a bitey drill bit that does what you want it to do.
Oh my God, it did a thing. They were magic drill bits. God, you have no idea how long I was doing that last night. Wow. So after I eventually got the old brake disc off, I could then of course get the new brake discs fitted. Then I could put back on the carrier. After that I could wind back the caliper piston, which then allowed me to fit the brake pads. And then the final job was to do up the two caliper bolts, and then I was done with this corner. So now that that was done, Tom and I began with fitting the remaining brakes. I decided to take both of the rear brakes. And then Tom took the front driver's side corner. Tom does also have a YouTube channel, and I will leave the link to it in the description of this video. So after not too much struggling, actually, the new brakes on the Jazz are now fitted and they look so good. These brakes are literally so race car, and they are definitely going to help this car stopping power when the K20 is in. But now I'm going to move on to the next job. Now, the next job isn't actually something that someone has suggested to me in the comments of my videos. This is something I saw on a Facebook group, and it is these awesome JDM taillights. They are actually JDM. They've been imported from Japan, and I just think they look so cool. So when I saw them, I bought them. So let's get them fitted. Now, as I fit these lovely taillights, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Carvertical. Now, Carvertical is the vehicle history check service. Now, when you're buying a new used car, Carvertical is the best way to make sure you're not buying a lemon. Now, to give you an example of this, when I was buying this Honda Jazz, I wanted to make sure that these marks on the rear bumper wasn't a sign of any other damage the seller might have been hiding from me. So I put the Jazz's reg into Carvertical, and I saw that there was no sign of any previous damage on that report. It was all green. So this damage was most likely something very minor that didn't go through the insurance. But the Carvertical report did uncover that my Honda Jazz has failed 8 MOTs in the past, which is slightly concerning. But if the report had looked like this Honda Jazz's report, I definitely would have stayed clear of the car. So as you can see from this report, there is a green light for no mileage fraud and a green light for no outstanding finance and legal status, but there is an amber warning light for damage. And on top of that, because this Jazz was sold at a car crash auction website, I can see pictures of all of the damage, and because of that, if someone was trying to sell me this car and they'd done a dodgy repair, I'd be able to see right through them. So whenever you guys want to check a car using Carvertical, then make sure to click the link in the description of this video and use the code JACK20 at the checkout, because you'll save 20% on the price of a report, and it also helps support the channel and helps me bring you guys videos like this. So definitely make sure to use Carvertical, and also make sure to use my code. It really does help me out. But what do we think? I think these lights look so good. They are definitely much better than the standard lights. Let's get the bumper back off and then get the last one fitted. So I've finished fitting the lights, and I have to say, I think they look really good. These honeycomb style LEDs for the daytime running lights look amazing. I just think this is a massive upgrade from the standard lights. So yeah, I'm just gonna quickly test if everything works, and then we can move on to the next mod. So our daytime running lights obviously work. We've got our brake light, and we've also got our indicator. Oh yeah, there's a reverse light as well. So the lights work, I'm very happy, and I think they look really good. But now I can move on to the final modification that I'm going to be fitting to the Jazz in this video, and that is a set of number plates. But one of them is a JDM style number plate that we can fit in between the exhaust tips. Now, a surprising amount of you have asked me to do this, such as this comment, and this comment, and I agree, this is definitely going to elevate the look of the Jazz from the back. So let's get them fitted. So before I could fit the JDM style plate, I firstly had to get out the angle grinder and just do a bit of trimming to make sure that the plate would actually fit in between the exhaust tips. And considering my very limited skill with an angle grinder, I don't think this looks too bad. Then all I did was just get some double-sided tape, and I just stuck the plate on as straight as I could get it. Well, it really is the little things, isn't it, that make a big difference. I think that number plate has massively made a massive difference to the way this car looks from the back. Now I can get on with the front number plate. So the new front number plate is now on, and it is looking 10 times better than that old one. But with all of those mods now done, I think I'm going to leave the video here. So if you did go on to enjoy it, make sure to smash the like button and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Guys, we are putting a K20 engine in this car in the next video. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss it, and also click the bell notification so you get notified when I upload. And one last reminder, if you do go on to buy a Carvertical report after this video, then make sure to use my code JACK20 at the checkout. It gives you a 20% discount, and it really does help me out. And with all of that said, I will catch you guys in the next video.